a lot of his exercises go hand in hand with what the pose method stuff teaches. And when I incorporated the stuff from the knees over toes guy into my strengthening and flexibility routine, I actually hit a lifetime PR in the half marathon at 38 years old, and a lifetime PR in the 1 mile at a couple weeks later after that. So, for anybody that's sitting saying, "Oh, I'm getting old, I'm getting slower," I think there's a lot of room for people to benefit from mechanics training.
Running with Maverick and Wolfman. Technical difficulties tonight. This is how we're doing it. Maverick here.
Wolfman here. Don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram, the big one, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, hit that little bell so you know when we've got great things. And much like tonight's episode with a great guest, you want to do the intro, Mav?
Right. Tonight we've got a special guest, the famous John Martino, who we've mentioned on the show several times. He's married to Marina Martino. They've had a heck of a start to this racing season, and we just ran with them at the Wyoming Valley Run, where John brought home a big prize.
A major award.
What's up, guys?
Hey, John. How are you?
Hey, John.
Good. How are you guys?
Living the dream.
Nice.
Good.
Good deal.
Now, let's just jump right into this. I saw some giant checks on Instagram.
Giant checks.
Yeah,
John won the Masters.
You won? Oh, you won money? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Got fifth. So yeah, I took home a little monetary prize. It was nice. Doesn't happen all the time.
So does that make you a professional? Are you technically a professional runner now?
I don't know. I think that's a stretch. So
I'd run with it. Pun intended.
Okay. Nice.
Awesome. I didn't realize that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I knew you won, but yeah, I didn't know you got one of those giant checks that you only see on TV.
Yeah. Definitely didn't expect that waking up that morning. That was a nice surprise. So
awesome.
Yeah, nice thing to take home.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Thanks, guys.
So let's just go over for a second. So you ran. What was your time for the 10-miler?
1 hour and 43 seconds.
Nice.
Nice.
I was right behind you. So no, you had a great run. I saw you in the beginning, and I saw you after we were done.
Yeah.
But we wanted to jump into. You're doing something different with runners and their form and technique and whatnot. I don't know what it is, but try to just break that down for me for a second.
It kind of started back with us in college. I think you guys remember our first coach, Coach Kincaid.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he was great. He got me out of like a low mileage program in high school and kind of brought me up to like a college level, building up miles and building up endurance, and kind of taught me how to work hard. And halfway through my college stint, we had a change of coaching staff, and Coach Yule came in, and I think you guys remember, he had like a little bit of a different philosophy from
Yep.
Kincaid. Like, he was very into strength and flexibility and form. And I remember when he first came in, I kind of took the attitude, what is this guy talking about? I don't believe anything he says. And I think by the time the conference meet came around that year, I paid the price for not really paying attention to what he was trying to teach us, and I ran pretty bad that meet. And so that was kind of a wake up call that it was like, hey, you really don't know everything about running. You should probably pay attention to what this guy is trying to help you with. And I remember the next college cross country season, like I really paid attention to like what he was trying to teach us with like strengthening and form and technique and flexibility. And like I took it seriously, and I tried to be like as spot on as I could with like his exercises and his drills. And I went from 32 minutes my junior year in the 8K down to 28:45 my senior year, and I managed to get 11th in the conference, and I took home a medal. And that was like a big, like, kind of like wow moment. Like, hey, there's more to running than just like mashing out the miles and being like a speed work hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
For sure.
yeah, that lesson really hit home. And uh, for a while after college, like I got into road racing, and I had some good races here and there. And I got to a point where I was getting ready to buy a house and getting ready to get engaged, and I was still training. And I kind of took that same attitude, unfortunately, again, like, hey, I'm running miles, I'm doing 50, 60 miles a week, and oh, I'm strong, I'm tough, I know what I'm doing. And that year, me and Marina were signed up for the Mount Desert Island Marathon in Bar Harbor. And a couple weeks before that marathon, I started to get really, really, really bad back and hip pain. And about a week or two before that race, it got hard to walk. And I kind of nursed it along, and I made it through the race. And actually, the one nice thing that came out of that race was at the end, Marina agreed to marry me. But other than that, I ran 26 miles with excruciating back pain. And I walked away from that, and I said, you know what, I really, there's a lot I should really learn about this sport. And I started researching something called pose method. And I read the books, and I learned from the gentleman that developed it. His name is Nicholas Romanov. He's a Russian sports scientist, and he came up with this system of drills and exercises and concepts that are designed to help you kind of like streamline your form from the ground up. Like, it attacks like a lot of different you know things that every runner kind of has a hard time with, like certain coordination deficiencies, and like, you're a little bit tight here or weak here, and you improve those things, and all of a sudden your form starts to get better, and you see the injuries go away, and you ultimately see better times and better performances. So yeah, that's kind of what I got into the past couple of years.
You kind of cut
Pose,
out there.
POSE, is that what it is?
Yeah, pose method. The way he
Okay.
came up with it, he was teaching Russian athletes. Like, he was a track and field coach, and he decided, well, hey, I know a lot about mileage, and I know a lot about speed work, but I don't know anything about like technique or form. Like how do you teach somebody to run? And he kind of
Right.
looked at martial arts and he looked at dancing, and he saw somebody that's like a good martial artist or a good dancer. They kind of transition between certain poses, and
Okay.
the more fluidly they transition between those poses, the more graceful they are. Well, a dancer becomes more graceful, or a martial artist becomes
Right.
better at their punches or kicks. And he applied that logic to running, and he came up with a series of drills. And you do these drills, you do these exercises, all of a sudden your running becomes like a lot smoother, and you kind of cut down on the risk of injury.
So does it spend a lot of time like analyzing and breaking down the mechanics in order to fix them, or it's more like do these and you're set?
Yeah, he pretty much from the way you move your toes all the way to the way you move your head. He's like, here's how your posture should be. Here's how you should be balancing on your feet. And he, uh, with his books and his videos, like he kind of instructs you from the ground up. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and you can get as into it or not into it as you like. The more meticulous you are, I think the more you get out of it. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah.
Which
And
I
that,
found, I've taken a lot of coursework on mechanics and running mechanics and all of that. Not the pose method, but I think it's right up our alley, and we have the profession and the mindset and the background that we can be super meticulous. What does he go much into cadence and footwear and all that stuff, or not really?
Yeah, he recommends a cadence of at least 180 steps a minute. Um, and I think when you look at a lot of research out there, like almost everybody points to like, hey, you should be around that number.
Yeah. Yep.
If you're at 179, you're not going to go to like running form jail or anything. But
That gives me
if
a
you're
good
down in
idea,
the
though.
which is a
130s,
place that exists.
It's like
if you're down in
Facebook
like
jail.
yeah, if you're down in the 130s, like
Yeah.
hey, you start bringing that number up, all of a sudden, oh hey, my running feels a little bit better,
Yeah.
like less effort. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I found with a lot of runners that I've treated, um, I mean, you look at a lot of stuff, but cadence was one of the first things that if you address your cadence, some of those other things kind of fixed themselves.
Right, right,
And it made it easier to treat those imbalances from a therapy standpoint.
right. Yeah. There's a very good book out there called Running Form by Owen Anderson. um, the first exercise he runs you through is a metronome drill. And you get an app on your phone and you plug it in at 180, and you do 3 sets of like 1 minute jogging in place to that 180, and he kind of progresses the exercises from there.
I
And
got you.
a lot of the runners I've worked with seem to get a lot out of that. So yeah, you're right. You
Yeah.
start to fix the cadence, and a lot of other things fall into place. So
What was that book? Running Form?
Running Form by Owen Anderson.
I had to write that down. That'll be my next Amazon purchase.
Nice.
Now, why did you find out why the 180? Like, why that number? Like, what is it about that number that makes it so consistent?
Um, the closer you get to there, uh, you start to land a little bit less on your heel.
Yeah.
You're more on your forefoot. You're using more like elasticity in your muscles. Um, you're
Yeah.
kind of pounding less and springing more, and using a
Yeah.
lot less effort that way. And it's not to say like, hey, if you go up to 190 or 200, that's not a bad thing. But you still have to do other things with your strength and your flexibility to get more out of like that super high cadence,
Yeah.
to get the most out of it.
That's what I found in my research as well. That as you approach that 180, you start to land more the way the body is designed to land, and therefore you are using things more efficiently.
Right,
And of
right,
course, efficiency is
Right.
huge, especially in distance running.
right. Yeah, I mean,
Which
we
which we understand now after becoming physical therapists, but we didn't understand then when we were just runners.
right,
Right.
right. Yeah, in college, we were like, well, what are these exercises and drills? And then you get a little older, and it's like, well, man, if I'm going to race 5 miles, I probably don't want to waste much energy during the course of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, and the big thing I try to impress on people is, whether you're in the sport, like if you're new to it or you've been around it a while, a lot of the popular training theory is like, hey, I want to run a marathon, give me a mileage plan, give me a speed work plan. And it's like, here you go, run this many miles, do this speed work. And it's like, that's it. Nobody's really taken the time to like look at your form, look at your mechanics. And I think that's where a lot of runners get into trouble.
Hmm.
They're building up these miles, and, they can't, uh, they're missing the mechanics side of things. And I think runners of all ability levels can benefit from a little bit of work on that side of things. So
I would say even most athletics, because if you look at a lot of athletics, there's a running component to it, and um, if you can fix the efficiency of even that, what, 60 feet from home to first base, I mean, you know,
yeah,
it translates into many things.
yeah, absolutely. And like all different sports are so
Yeah,
are
and if you look,
based that it's like, why not running? You know what I mean? Like, well, if
Yeah,
you're a golfer,
yeah,
there's a multi-billion-dollar industry on, hey, how do you fix your golf swing? Well, let's apply that to running too.
yeah. Right,
So
right.
yeah, yeah,
all right, if you watch an elite race, for example, in the Olympics, you're gonna see all the same stuff. You're gonna see like the same kind of warm ups, the same kind of drills, the same kind of actual like technique. You're gonna see a lot of the same stuff. Now you might see a guy that's 6'5" and a guy that's 5'5", and they're going
right,
to run a little different. But at like when you put on a distance race, pretty much the same form, the same footwear, the same uniform, like everything is pretty much the same. And there's a
Yeah,
reason for that. When you go to like a high school meet and you watch people run, you're like, what is going on? Like that person's arm is swinging all over, the legs going sideways. Like, why is the coach not working on something over here? They're flopping around. I don't get how they're going to finish this thing.
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No offense, high school coaches, Wolfman.
It's all good. I tell the kids all the time we do form drills not every day, um, but we do them frequently, and I always tell them like we're not trying to perfect your form. We're trying to make it as efficient as possible
right,
so that you're more flexible and we're going to help prevent injury. And then, like, I've read Meb for Mortals, which is a fantastic book, in my opinion. And he talks about drills and he does them every day. Now, I don't know if they're the pose drills or what they are, but he says in his book that, he was running marathons when he was on the older side and he was still doing phenomenal and with minimal injury at that point. And he said, you can't say it's because I do these drills meticulously, but I can tell you that my colleagues, they do drills, but not every day, not like I do them. Like
yeah,
he'll cut miles short to do his drills if
right,
he's constrained on time because he feels it's more important to get those drills than to get the miles.
right, right. And like think of like if you run into somebody at a road race and they're injured, like what's one of the first things they tell you? They're saying, well, I'm doing this many miles and I'm running this pace and I'm
Hmm.
doing the speed work and I can't figure out why I'm injured. And it's like, well, hey, what kind of drills are you working on? What areas in your body are tight? What's weak? What kind of things are you doing to improve those things? And like take that step by step process to see how you feel.
Yeah, yeah. I know that I feel the worst when when I get constrained on time, and I do the opposite of Meb. So I I don't do my drills. I don't do my strength training. I don't do the flexibility training. And that's when I feel like, oh man, that's getting sore. That's getting tight, you know,
Yeah.
and I know better.
Right. Right.
But
It's it's one of those things that you as you grow with it, right? As you learn more about it, there's so much to dig into. And you don't know it. I was talking to someone today and they were asking me questions and then we are getting into different topics and things. And like most people just go and run. They just go run a few miles and they don't know what else to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's where you start. You start by just I'm doing a run. I'm gonna go out there,
hmm
see what happens, hope for the best. But as
Yeah.
you get into it and you study it, there's so much more involved with it, and you can get so much faster by just doing little changes, like John's talking about, like working on your form. If you've got a weird arm carry, if you've got a weird heel
hmm
strike, like if you just tweak that a little bit, all of a sudden there's like 30 seconds. It's like 30 seconds in a 5 game. I mean,
yeah,
that's gonna make a difference.
that's
Yeah.
huge. Well,
Absolutely.
and it's definitely getting more technical. I was talking to the athletic director the other day, and he said that himself. And he's not a runner. He said, athletics and running specifically are so much more technical than they used to be. Like it used to be, oh, team, go run 10 miles. We'll meet back here. And
Yeah.
now it's just not. That's
Hmm.
not the approach. Well, it's not the approach to these successful programs. You know,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's gaining traction.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. There's more and more people that are interested in it, and
Yeah,
I mean, one of the stories I was told when I got the pose certification, the guy that was teaching it, um, he was talking about Bill Bowerman. Uh,
yeah.
he wrote this book, and in this book, uh, Bill Bowerman said, "Just go out and run. Your stride will kind of fix itself." And the guy that was teaching the pose method class, he goes, "That sentence ruined millions of pairs of knees."
Oh, I'm sure.
So
And
But at the same time, I
Bowerman.
mean, that was what 1970 something.
seventy,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. I mean, Bowerman did a lot of things for the sport, but I agree. I don't think he did a lot for the mechanical component and the injury prevention component. He was co-founder of Nike, and Nike was really, we want to make running popular and more comfortable for the masses. How do we do that? Well, we're going to build a shoe that promotes you to run like you walk because that's comfortable.
yeah,
Um, and then he had a term that he would call runners bumblebees. They're like you said, their form is a disaster. They shouldn't be able to run like a bumblebee. Bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly, but yeah, they can.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, he kind of wasn't in on the mechanical aspect of things, like some of these great coaches are now. And I'm not saying he wasn't a great coach. That's not what I'm saying.
Right,
Before
right.
we get chastised.
Yeah, yeah. And back then it was, the guys that were the fastest were guys that were piling on the mileage and the speed
Yeah.
work. So, most people said, "Aha, that's what you have to do to get fast."
No.
And
Right.
that's what the focus was on, and to some extent it's still on that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And the form in those caliber runners, there's a certain kind of form they're going to adopt because remember when you're running that fast, you're not going to be heel striking. You're
Right.
not going to be putting the brake on. You're going to be hitting it like midfoot, forefoot because you're running so quick for so long, and now the cadence is going to come along too because you're doing it over and over and over again. You're going to have shortening of muscles. You're going to have tightening, lengthening. You're going to have all the things kind of coming into place because of how much you're doing, and that makes it easier too on some people because when you're a novice runner with tight hamstrings and a bad quad and whatever, you're going to have like funny stuff with your gait pattern anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And
it,
and I,
it doesn't feel natural too. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but like when you first start running, like it feels kind of awkward and you're like feel like you're wasting energy everywhere. But as you get used to it and do it more, it gets easier and
yeah,
smoother.
yeah. Once you change your form for the better, and you try to go back to like what you used to do, it's like, well, why was I running like that? Like it feels doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
I
I
would
feel
probably
worse. Oh, go
I
ahead,
would
Matt.
probably hammer that home with the athletes there, Wolfman. I would have them run real goofy a couple times, and then be like, "This is not Disney World. Now run like this."
I tell you what, sometimes I'm more sore slowing down to run with the team than if I just run my own pace.
Right.
Like, my ankle will hurt, my knee will hurt, and it's because, I mean, I know why it is. It's because I'm not at the cadence that I should be. But then if I was at the cadence I should be, I'm not going to be running with the kids. I'm trying to ask questions and see how they're feeling and all that stuff. So yeah, it's something you definitely notice. Like you said, if you fix your form for the better and then you go to running not that way, you notice it. You really do.
Yeah.
That's a good point, John. Let me ask you that one. If I'm running with someone else and I'm running 2 minutes slower for a training run, should
Yeah.
I keep the 180 cadence and focus on that, or
Yep.
my form as well? But just
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
Roger.
Whether you're running fast or slow, your feet should be moving very, very quickly.
We're gonna
And
check that. We're gonna check that metronome out, John. Make sure that that's on.
I'm totally going to read that book. I don't know if I'll read it in time to incorporate it into this year, but I'll be interested to incorporate it in coming years.
yeah,
He's
that's
phasing it in, people.
Yeah, you'll be seeing us running around with metronomes. No kidding.
Yeah, the piano teachers will be upset with him. We can't find a metronome anywhere.
Catch me.
the track coach has it.
Our students are suffering. No, that's good
You can
stuff.
have it back if you can catch me.
Um, so, so John, let me just get this in real terms. Like, give us an example. Like, you gave us an example earlier about your 8K time. What about like a 5K time or a 10K time? Like, give us another example about how your time's improved with this
Um,
method.
over the past couple of years, like I work up at Allied in Scranton, and I work with some therapists that have like a lot of different certifications and specialties, and one of them, her name is Debbie Crispell. She turned me on to a guy on YouTube. Maybe you've seen him. He's the knees over toes guy,
Heard
and
of
I don't think
it.
so.
a lot of his exercises go hand in hand with what the pose method stuff teaches. And when I incorporated the stuff from the knees over toes guy into my strengthening and flexibility routine, um, I actually hit a lifetime PR in the half marathon at 38 years old, and a lifetime PR in the 1 mile at a couple weeks later after that. So, for anybody that's sitting saying, "Oh, I'm getting old, I'm getting slower," I think there's a lot of room for people to benefit from mechanics training. And it's almost like a rabbit hole thing. Like the more you get into it, the more you're like, "Oh, hey, I could work on this. I can make this more flexible and this stronger." And hey, all of a sudden I'm feeling better in this race, and it kind of snowballs to a certain extent. So
Yeah, yeah.
Now, John, I have to ask you because your wife is an accomplished runner.
yeah.
Are there times where you start nitpicking her form and technique, and then she's just like, "John, just let me run"?
Yeah. I used to be like that. I try to be good about that. If she wants help, I'm glad to help, but I uh, I try not to push it on people. I think it's something when you want to work on it. I think you kind of look for the books,
Yeah.
or you look for some help, and you start to get
Right.
into it. So yeah.
Right. So I agree with that. I agree with that. It's going to come to you if you need it and if you want it. But if you're not interested, you're just going to go run your race and be done with it. But I'm looking. I'm looking to compete with Wolfman.
At what
I need to
distance?
run a lot longer. What's the efficiency of running a lot longer? I need that.
um, Hamstrings.
That's it.
The guy that taught the pose method class, he says if you're interested in improving your endurance, take a good look at your hamstring strength and your hamstring flexibility, and like that's like the runner's workhorse. The stronger the hamstrings are, the quicker you can get off the ground, and the lighter you feel, and the longer you can run. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
The
Yeah.
hammies.
Can you come tell this to my high school team?
I would say that the hamstring is probably the most like neglected muscle in all of
Oh
college
yeah,
sports.
Yeah,
it is.
It's
It
pulled all the
is.
time. It's ripped. It's strained, sprained. It's like of all the injuries that happen, it's like always something around that hamstring. I mean, you get quads and things too, but there's a lot of hamstrings going on that you don't get publicity on. You hear about all
Yeah.
the ACLs and the other stuff that's glamorous on TV to report on, but the hamstrings hurt all the time. It's like all
yeah,
the time.
yeah, yeah. I think everybody's hamstring strength, it's couple repetitions.
Subpar.
So yeah,
Subpar. All
It's
right, so
like
we got to
when
do more
you.
hammy workouts. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Look up
note that.
Nordic curls on YouTube.
What is it?
Nordic curls on YouTube.
Are they? I think. Are they the ones that like somebody's holding your legs and you're doing this?
Yep.
I
And then
I
cramping
have.
real bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I do that with my athletes, and I tell them like, you're gonna do it as best you can, but you're gonna start with your hands here,
Yeah.
so you can catch yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, I won't need that. I'm like, you will.
and there's
But
there's
then,
always that kid that won't
as they
let
get
go.
better, they do, they keep they still, a lot of them keep their hands here, but some of them can get their hands by their sides or behind their back. And I mean, but the first time, every time it's like they get about that far and it's just like, whoop,
Yeah. Yeah.
they just can't hold it. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not good at it either.
Yeah. It's
Yet.
something. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah.
But, do they get much into, or do you in your practice get much into footwear recommendations when you're changing these things with people?
Um. Typically, my runner patients, I ask them, "Are you happy with your shoes?" Um. If the answer is yes, I don't really push the issue very much.
Hmm.
Um. Generally, my perspective on shoes is the better you get with your form, the less restrictive of a shoe you need, and the closer you can get to minimalist. And I know Wolfman. Last year I had a bad diamonds race. I was pretty sick, and I remember you went past me down the hill in your minimalist shoes, and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my god, I'm dying. I'm like, oh man, his form is really good. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
like
To get to the point where you're good with minimalists, I think it takes some time and it takes some work to
yeah,
get to that point. So I
yeah.
yeah, I don't really push it too much.
I don't push it a lot either, unless they specifically ask. But I'm not even sold. Like I like the minimal shoe, and you know, I think I think in a way people get confused. They think minimal and they think barefoot. But in my opinion, this is my opinion. When we talk about minimal, it is the mechanics of your body with the contact to the ground. And in my opinion, a minimal shoe is anything with a 8 millimeter drop or less heel
Right.
drop.
Yeah.
Because and that's typically what I recommend to people is find something in that range because it gives you enough cushioning for the asphalt and the concrete and all that stuff, but it's not so much cushioning that it's fighting your body's natural mechanics, which
r-
should be
Yeah.
forefoot to midfoot landing,
Yeah.
especially as you improve that cadence and things like that. Um, but I love my minimal shoe.
Yeah. Yeah. They are nice. They do kind of like you put those on and you go to run. You're gonna find out pretty quick where you're tight or where you're weak. So
Mhm.
they are a great learning tool. Yeah.
I've been
the
looking forward to
the
this conversation for months.
The only thing that I can't seem to wrap my brain around is with the Vibram Five Fingers, right? They individually wrap those toes. Is that awkward to get used to? Is that a benefit? Like, what is the deal with that? Why are they individually wrapped?
You don't
Uh,
even notice it, in my opinion.
yeah,
Why they do it, I don't know, but I mean, you put them on and you don't even notice it.
Hmm.
But
That's
again,
probably like the one thing that I'm like, if that's not there, I'm more interested.
again, this is my opinion. I strengthened my foot muscles, the intrinsic foot muscles, for probably 2 months before I ever put on a pair of five fingers. So to do this with my toes, I don't have to
Yeah.
think about it. I can
yeah,
just spread them out and put them in the toe holes. So it's like putting on a glove.
yeah. I,
So
I think there's a certain amount of people that they decide they want to get into minimalist or barefoot running, and a certain percentage of those people will buy those shoes and they'll go out and they'll start running, and subconsciously everything changes. Like they do it without thinking about it. And hey, all my injuries went away. I went to barefoot. I feel great. I think there's another percentage of those people that go off the diving board that doesn't happen, and they
yeah,
kind of crash and burn. And I think the best way, like you said, is to build up very slowly
yeah,
and make sure you have that strength to make that happen. So
yeah, yeah,
I think one, if you guys are interested in another book, uh,
yeah. Me getting
running
ready to
with
write it down.
running
What's
with the
that?
King
Okay.
talks about that.
Running with what? I'm sorry.
Uh, running with the Kenyans.
Will you pay attention, please?
I was written down.
Um, like
We're
it
recording it. You don't need to write it down.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
it talks about how, like, if you heard your grandparents growing up, they used to tell you, "Oh, we used to walk to school both ways uphill in our bare feet." Well, Kenyan kids run uphill both ways to school in their
Yeah,
bare feet, and they develop that strength just from everyday life. So
yeah,
if you ask most of that population to go run barefoot, it's like, oh yeah, that's no problem. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah,
I even I don't know if you've read studies and stuff, but I of course have read a bunch of the studies, and one of them talks about just that. Like this was like a preliminary study. Let's just see what happens. Went to it was Kenya or Ethiopia, but one of the African countries where they're all barefoot and stuff like that. They watched all the kids run and all them doing all these things, and they're all midfoot, forefoot striking, no problem, not anything about it. They gave them all a pair of running shoes, like just standard Nike running shoes. Put them on, and their form changed.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it was wild to read the article
yeah,
because you don't think about that. But yeah, they don't run in shoes.
yeah,
So putting the shoes on just completely changed everything.
yeah, and yeah, like you think about our society. Maybe you run around the house barefoot when you're a kid, but then you go to school, you wear shoes everywhere,
Yeah,
and lots of times they're heavy cushioned, and
yeah,
kind of what you gain in protection and comfort, you kind of lose in strength and
yeah.
flexibility. So yeah,
There's an interesting documentary called the Earthing movie, and they talk all about how like human beings have lost their connection with the earth by not going barefoot, by not walking around and getting their feet on the ground, and causes more illnesses and whatnot. It's pretty interesting. You should check it out. Kind of reinforces everything you guys are saying in some degree.
Mm, yeah. I mean, I wear shoes to work, and that's pretty much it. And they're like the cheapest pair of slip-ons I could find at Walmart. There's nothing to them.
I,
And just wrap some leaves around when you go in next time.
I should.
Do you mind removing your leaves, Wolfman? I don't mind at all.
I, yeah,
So we should probably end it there for tonight, but then have John on with some more specific questions that we know what he's talking about.
yeah. Yeah.
Because like we're
We
just
should.
getting into this pose thing, and I have more questions, but I just don't want to. I don't want to
Yeah.
rush through them.
I've I don't know if you've paid attention much to our show lately, John, but we've got a new game: before, during, after, never. So it's time to play the game.
Okay.
Before, during, after, never, pancakes.
After.
Nice. Mav?
Oh, beef stroganoff.
Oh, I thought you were going to answer pancakes, but okay.
Pancakes? Oh, yeah. After.
I'd say before and after.
I mean, I
Oh,
guess I would try them during if I wasn't taking it too serious.
gotcha.
Fun stuff. So I'll let you get back to what you were saying, Mav. Sorry.
Beef stroganoff.
Way after. Way after.
I
Maybe
I
the
would
next day.
say I'd say before, but further before than I typically would, and after for sure. Yeah. But
If it's a red meat, Wolfman's gonna try it before.
I'm fast like deer because I eat deer.
I used to know a
Maybe.
guy that he claimed that before marathons he would burger load.
Burger load.
Burger load.
Interesting. Instead of carb loading.
Instead of carb loading. And he at one point in his life he ran 5 marathons in 5 weeks.
Hmm.
He burger loaded before every single marathon, and every marathon he ran a little faster.
Huh.
So yeah, to each their own.
I don't think I'll try that before my next one, but perhaps the next one. But
I don't know. I think it's just the individual.
yeah. But,
Yeah.
but it has been great having you on, John. I really have been looking forward to this conversation for months.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you, John. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Thanks for
Look
having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
look forward to the next meeting with you, talking with you, and the next race with you. Hopefully, you'll be able to run with us for a little bit next time.
And
Sounds good.
we'll run with him. So get
Oh
ready,
yeah,
man.
we'll be on your heels.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Have a
Take
good
Thanks,
care.
night.
John.
Bye.
Maverick and Wolfman running out.